I remember when I got my mission call, I looked up hello on Google Translator, and you saw this really big long word, and it kind of was just like, whoa, what is that? And it's just Persian Detia. So there you go. There's hello for you. You can also just say Chikemi, which is just like hi. Another one is Si Yeni, which is how are you? Mir, good. If you know Mir, you know you can speak like 90% Albanian conversation. So thank you. Faleminderit. You would say you're welcome. You can the kind of like the proper way would be like skaperse, but another way is just to say skaja, and that's kind of like the more used way is just saying skaja. Numbers very simply. So you have like 1, nia, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. If you want to say like I am from, you'd say un jam nga, then you would just say where you're from. And if you want to say like good morning, mirëmëngjes. If you want to say good day, it's mirdita. If you want to say good evening, mirëmbrëma. You want to say good night, natën e mirë. As far as like tips with speaking Albanian that I noticed that what a lot of missionaries do is they like to close their mouth like this when they speak Albanian. Open your mouth. You gotta be able to enunciate a lot of things because there's a lot of like different words and like syllables that can sound the same. So you have to be able to enunciate, and that just means opening up your mouth. And like that's a problem that I see. If you want to know what the Book of Mormon is, it's Libri I Mormonit. We kind of get like the English mindset, and people say Libri I Mormonit, and that's just bad. We don't do that. So Libri I Mormonit. The alphabet, all the letters are pretty much the same, except for A, you would say A, you wouldn't say A. I is not I, but it's E. They have a bunch of different letter combinations, pretty much the same. The C with the little tail, that's ch. And a Q sound makes a ch, which sounds exactly the same. Don't worry, with time you'll be able to hear the difference. So the ZH, that's a zh, like if you were to say like vision, so like zh. I can't think of any other ones that are kind of like the, XH, that's just j, kind of like your J. And everything else is pretty much the same. I mean, the E with the 2 dots above it, it's just So I can think of, I'm not bashing on the senior couples, but I can think of a lot of examples they would give, and they'd be like, see Jenny, see Jenny, Mayor, Faleminderit. And that's like, it's a good effort, but you'd probably want to say more like, see Jenny, Faleminderit, Mir. A lot of ones is you can say like no problem at all. You'd say ska problem. That's like the right way Albanian, and a lot of people will say like, oh, ska problem. And so that was the one that kind of like bugged me. Other than that, it's Albanian itself. Once you learn like the letters in each one of the sounds, then everything else like that, it's gonna make that sound always. And so like just making sure that you take away what you think is right and what is right for Albanian. And there's a lot of little pronunciation things that like I still work on to this day, but being able to listen to the locals and see how they say words, and being able to work at it, because there's a lot of people who just kind of have like their American accent. They keep their mouths closed whenever they speak like this, kind of what I was talking about. But and opening your mouth and just like really just trying to replicate what you hear. That's the best way to do it.
So one of the biggest things or hardest things about Albanian is it's not like another language. So your ear, lots of other languages, when you learn them, your ear has to like develop the way to listen to it, if you will. And so like other Latin languages, you know, they're a little bit easier to learn because your ear is used to hearing those. That's what makes Albanian hard, is your ear's not used to it. And so really the best way, and this was a thing that we did a lot, was it's called SYL, Speak Your Language, which as companionships we'd make these goals, and we were always the best at it, but you speak, because as missionaries it's very easy to just speak with each other just English, and there's a lot of times that we did speak just English, but also just practicing it, because like I said, the biggest thing was just speaking the language. Also, you want to study it. We had language study every day. But I like compare looking at other missionaries in my mission. The ones who were the best speakers were the ones who didn't care. Like began their missions, they'd make tons of mistakes, but they were speaking. And then there's these other missionaries I remember who in MTC they were great. They had all the grammar down, everything down. They'd worked super hard, but they were so scared to speak, and they fell behind on language because they were scared to speak. And so honestly, the best advice is just speak it, and not get so caught up in making mistakes. Because if you really are speaking the best, trying to do your best, the gift of tongues takes over, or the Spirit testifies to the people what you're trying to say or what you know is true. So really, the most important thing is just putting yourself out there. Don't worry about making mistakes, and just being sincere. And if you do those things, then you'll learn the language. Well, and it's funny. I look at experiences I had where I got this language down now, and I almost like instantaneously that would happen, and then I would just mess up on a bunch of words. So again, just staying humble, like knowing that you never make it, that you're still always learning the language, as well as how much the Lord is helping you. Like it's just crazy. Like we'll look back at times where literally like a sentence and I'd speak perfect, and I think, oh wow, I'm good at this, and then like the next sentence just totally butcher it. Like it's just amazing to me how important the Spirit and being humble is in learning the language.
So the Albanian language actually is one of the oldest languages in the world. I think it comes from the family of Indo-European, and it's one of the 3 oldest languages in the entire world. It's not similar to anything else. So I was blessed to serve in Albania and not having to learn the language. But also I was blessed to see how much, especially the missionaries I served with, improved in the language because the Lord helped them too. So I think one of the tips that I would give to the missionaries to learn the language is trust the Lord. I think this is one of like the biggest things, because even though I didn't have to learn the language, you actually have to learn the language, which is like the language of the Spirit, the language of the Holy Ghost. And one of like the most important tips also is like the language is a big tool that you use, but the biggest tool is like the Spirit. And once the Spirit works through you, you'll get the language. It comes with time. Yes, you have to study. Yes, you have to read the books. But trusting the Lord is one of like the biggest tools. I got the chance to serve with a lot of sisters. And I think something that I saw really effective in them learning the language is reading the Book of Mormon in Albanian, and also trying to translate words one by one. So then you could have a bigger vocab. And also there are a lot of books that the MTC and also the mission field provides, so you can better learn the language. It's cool because a lot of words that we have in Albanian come from Turkish also. So there are a lot of old words that we use. And one of them that I really love, it's called avash avash, which means little by little, slowly, slowly. So that's like the Albanian motto, kind of. Avash avash. So everything like you do, if you ask them to be baptized, they're like, avash avash. So like little by little, like we'll get there. Or how's your day been? And they're like, avash avash. So everything that you ask them, it's avash avash. That's why I love it. And also there's another word that I love. These two actually are Turkish, but Albanians use them a lot, which is kismet, which translating into English means God willing, kind of. So it's like if God wants it to happen, then it will. But it has two different meanings in Kosovo and in Albania. So most of the time, when you say kismet in Albania, it means probably not. But once you say it in Kosovo, it means probably yes, which is really cool. And people say that when you speak Albanian, it's usually like it sounds kind of like you're fighting with someone, because the intonation changes as you go up. So from the south to the north. So people in the south speak with a higher pitch voice, but people in the north, their dialect changes. So I served in Kosovo, and they had such a different dialect from the Albanian one, and a lot of words changed from like the Albanian words. And it was so hard for me to understand what they would say. And I'm Albanian, so like, they would say things and I would be like, can you repeat that? And I was like, okay, this is how it feels for missionaries, like to learn a new language. But it's a different dialect. The words are similar, but it's kind of harder to understand. But it's really cool to see that change of dialects as you go from south to the north. And I feel like something that would help a lot also, it's SYL, which stands for Speak Your Language. And I think language comes as you practice it a lot, and especially with your companion.